Welcome to the Refine and Shine, the podcast dedicated to mastering the art of continuous improvement and optimizing every aspect of your life. I'm Angelina Rivera, your host, and together we'll uncover the secrets to refining our lives, our habits, and our processes to unlock our inner brilliance. Join us on Refine and Shine, where we'll delve deep into achieving more in life without the burnout and without all the stress. This podcast is your platform for a more fulfilling life through continuous improvement and personal growth. In each episode, I and a diverse array of guests discuss practical strategies for up-leveling every aspect of your life. From developing good habits and organizing your space to refining your mindset and personal goals, we're going to explore it all. Our guests share personal stories about the systems they've developed or systems they've used and the tweaks they've made in their lives when refinement was needed, allowing them to truly shine. Listen to Refine and Shine to learn how you can implement continuous improvement techniques in your daily routine, develop and maintain healthy habits that lead to success and satisfaction, organize your life to reduce the stress and increase your productivity, foster a growth mindset that propels you to new heights. My mission is to inspire you to take bold action, make positive changes, and become the best version of yourself. Whether you're aiming to elevate your career, nurture meaningful relationships, or enhance your overall well-being, Refine and Shine is your guiding light. With over 25 years of experience in continuous improvement, I help businesses streamline their processes, establish efficient work areas, and implement standard work protocols. I have trained over 600 individuals and teams in process improvement, optimizing workflows, and enhancing overall operational efficiency. Tune in every week as we embark on an enlightening journey, exploring paths to refinement and illuminating the way to shine in every area of our lives. Subscribe now and join us on this journey to polish your life and let your best self shine through. Thank you for joining us on Refine and Shine. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Refine and Shine podcast. I'm super excited for my guest today. She is a friend, and I am so excited for you guys to get to know her story, and see what she's all about. My friend today, my guest, is Giermaine Kinnick. She is a homeschool mom of 3. She is a former CrossFit Game athlete and a firefighter who has built her life on discipline, resilience, and choosing the hard road with integrity. From entrepreneurship to athletics to public service, she brings a grounded perspective on leadership, work ethic, and sustainable growth in every season of life. Thank you, Giermaine, for being my guest on here today.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here. I'm glad we finally made the time to meet up. So.
Yes, I'm super excited because we have been talking about doing this podcast for quite some time, and I'm glad that everything aligned so that we could be together to do this today. And one of the things that I think is so amazing about you is one, you are a fighter, so you are out there fighting the fires, and it's very rare for a woman to be a firefighter. So we'll get into that in a little bit, but you were also a CrossFit athlete, and I have done CrossFit. I did it in about 2012 to 2013. It was really hard, and I didn't get to the part where I could compete, but you were competing. So kind of just talk to us about how you got to be the athlete, got into CrossFit, and just tell us about your life and your story and how you got to be a firefighter. So take it away.
Oh, that's a long story. Goodness gracious. But let's just say I had 2 kids when I decided to start competing in CrossFit. Our family had a CrossFit gym, CrossFit Kinnick in Upland. And I had my 2 boys that are a little bit younger. So I had already started kind of working out more once I had my first, and then my second came. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to work out more. We had the gym, so it was kind of easier for me to be in that lifestyle, right? I just stay at home mom. We actually lived across the street from the gym, so I would just walk across the street and go work out. So it was easy for me to be fit. I started getting pretty good. And then that's when I started intentionally training to be a games athlete. And it wasn't something I worked out really hard for a couple months and then I made the games. That is not how it is. This is years and years of training, 5 days a week, sometimes 2 times a day, doing different programs, and you're working on everything. You're working on coordination, agility, speed, endurance, lifting, power lifts, Olympic lifts, and you're doing gymnastics. So it's a wide range of skills that you need to have. And I just took it day by day. And when you start seeing those weaknesses, that's when I'm like, okay, it's like I had to make my weaknesses good enough to where it didn't eliminate me from competition. So, although I didn't focus only on my weaknesses, because if I did, I wouldn't be as good as I was at my strengths, right? So I would give my weaknesses enough attention to where it just didn't take me out of the game. But my strengths were so good that it was, I would qualify to compete at the CrossFit Games. And in 2015 was when I competed. I was on a team with my husband and two other gentlemen and then two ladies. And it was probably some of the most fun years of my life. Train as hard as you can go, all the ups and downs that comes with that. And then experiencing something like being on the stage competing was pretty unreal. But I was a lot younger. My body worked really well. Although I did have two kids, I really felt unstoppable at that point. So that's what I did. I kind of just got really fit. And then because I was a stay-at-home mom, I wanted to work at some point, because both my mom and my husband's mom, our fathers passed away. So they were stay-at-home moms. And being able to support yourself completely as a stay-at-home mom pretty much your whole life, and then having to get back into the workforce, like I know what those challenges look like. And so that's when I got this wild hair up my what, and was like, hey, I know what, I'll be a firefighter. And I picked that because I was so strong and so fit that I knew, honestly, in my own mind, I could do anything physically. So that's why I pursued it. And I did it while I was homeschooling my boys, two kids, and my husband was working full time. So he would come home, grab the kids. I would leave for college, or I'd leave for the classes and certs I was getting. And we just juggled life back and forth. And then I had a 16-week academy, and I had to like zero in, because I'm waking up at 3:30 in the morning and not going to bed until like 8, 9 o'clock at night, with a whole academy all day, and then coming home and studying, and I have to pass to be a firefighter. So there wasn't like, being the mom and all that stuff wasn't really a choice. So my husband and I really scrambled, and my mom helped out a lot too. But we got through those 16 weeks, and I volunteered for a couple of years after that, and then finally was in the fire service. And I've been in the fire service for about 7 years.
That's just amazing. I think that it's like, how often is it that there are females that are firefighters? Like, do you know the statistics? Because I really don't know, but I was just curious if you knew.
They're very low. My department actually has more females than, like percentage wise, than surrounding cities. I mean, when I was applying to become a firefighter, I mean, I got all the negative stuff, right? And I've experienced it throughout my career, but it kind of comes with the territory. So when I found a department that did have two women there already, I had been volunteering there for a little over a year, and I just, it felt like a good fit. So that's where I kind of stepped in and really put my nose to the ground and just went for it. But there's a lot of departments that either won't hire women. If you get into like a county, they're more, they want to have their numbers and all that stuff. But their percentages are still low. I want to say they're like under like 11%, maybe like 6 to 11% as far as how many women are in the fire service out here.
Yeah, because I honestly, you're the only female firefighter I've ever met. And actually, and when I worked at the federal base, there was a female firefighter, but she did a lot of like the alarm checks and things like that. I never seen her suited. I seen her more doing like checking to see if our fire alarms were working, testing our lighting and things like that.
Okay. So she was doing prevention, probably.
Yeah, that's what she was doing. Yeah.
I still get asked a lot, do you work in the office? You're a fire? I'm like, No, I'm a firefighter. I don't work in the office.
No, and that's one of the things I wanted to say next is like you had to be pretty, pretty fit, and you were like we are around the same age, and so thinking back at like when you first had your first when you opened up your gym and got into the CrossFit, that was about we talked earlier, and I think it was about 2008, you said, right?
Yeah.
So you're around 28-ish years old, if I want to say, or 26.
In 2008, are you talking
Yeah.
about how old I am now? Oh, I'm like, I'm
No,
not 26.
no.
Okay, so I started pursuing fire when I was 32. I got hired at 37.
Okay.
So I competed in the games 2015. That year is the first year I took my first test to become a firefighter. I did not get hired right then, but that was one of my first tests I took in 2015.
So I think that that's amazing is that one, you took your test, you had to get fit. And I know that at 28 years old or around that time for me, I was not the fittest I was done having my children, but I got into running in my CrossFit journey around, I would say when I was around 32 years
Okay.
old. And, like I only did it for a few, I never competed. I like struggled and I could say that I probably did amateur CrossFit, like if you really want to talk about it, because I couldn't really lift the bar. I didn't do like the heavy weights, but I did like everything except for the lifting because of my restrictions with my, I have a scoliosis in my back and weight restrictions were really hard for me and the arthritis in my neck. But wow, like to do all the things that you were doing and to become you were volunteering your time and all those things. And then you got finally hired on full time. But all of that through that, you were homeschooling your children, married and balancing a family. And how was your health like during that time? Like, did you find it a struggle once you were doing firefighting and then, working, homeschooling the kids and all of those things? How was your health?
Well, I can just start with I've always had a little bit of the gene where I struggle with my weight my whole life. I take after my dad's side of the family. It's just part of, my genes. And then I'm the sibling that, had that gene. So it's something that like I always had struggled with when I started CrossFit and was a stay-at-home mom. We were totally clean eaters. Like literally for years I didn't nothing touched my lips, and it was almost like a badge of honor, and I don't know why it was, but like in my head, like if I saw someone I was competing against that was like having pizza or like a candy, I'm like, well, I just beat them at that next workout. It's like my mindset was so solid. But you throw on a little bit of stress with starting to pursue a new career. You're using your family's whole savings account to do this. Is it going to work, right? Well, all the what ifs. That's when like I noticed like, and I wasn't eating unhealthy, but I was eating a lot of healthy food more than I needed. And you can tell that's when like my stress eating started. I still pretty much had my weight under control as I was pursuing, probably because I was so physically active. But I started noticing more of my weight gain and health issues once I started fire. That's when my schedule kicked in. I work anywhere from 48 to 96 hours. And then obviously there's a lot of stress that comes with that. You're in a new workplace. There's a lot of pressure on you, especially as a probationary firefighter. And that's when, I started noticing that. And I was 37 when I got hired. So I'm slowly entering my 40s. You can imagine like a little bit of, those hormone imbalances, all those things that come with your age creeping up. Plus, you're not sleeping, plus, you're stressed, plus, you're experiencing traumatic events, all those things. So that's when I started noticing more. I was like, ooh, like I have to try to do something because, like, what I used to do, eat clean, completely control everything that went in my mouth, like, I didn't have that control anymore. I didn't have the luxury of going to the grocery store and having everything in my house and all the things I like, and then also not having all the things in my house that I didn't want to eat. Like I didn't have that anymore being in the firehouse. And so um yeah, and that's when having that total change in environment was what started I started noticing my weight gain and some of my health issues.
Yeah, and I can relate to that. I can totally understand is like when I switched careers and even just being gone, even when you're away from the home for, in my old job when I was working at the production plant, gone for 12 to 16 hours a day and sometimes 6 days a week, you have to rely on whatever you bring to work, or, you have this little convenience store, and sometimes like that's the only thing is to eat whatever they have there. And, I'd get whatever I could, like, but a lot of stuff wasn't healthy. It was like going to a gas station. And so you could, hope that the peanuts you were eating didn't have extra stuff in it, or whatever you grabbed, but it wasn't, it wasn't easy. And so I can relate. And then you're just gone, and by the time you come home, you're so exhausted. You eat dinner, you need to go to sleep. And when you're not sleeping right, it really affects your body, especially as women and we get older. And the hormones and all of the other things. But then with your life, you then shortly after we first met, or we kind of met a long time ago. I think we met in like 2001, but in 2003 is when we really got to know each other. And I believe it was in 2003, I'm sorry, 2023. And that,
didn't have known you that long.
Yeah. It was
Okay. Yes,
I'm sorry. Yeah, 2021 is when I first met your husband and knew of your husband.
Okay.
And then because of the wellness community, and then we briefly met in Arizona. And then it was in 2023 is when you and I got to really spend some time together. We joined a mastermind together. And I remember when we went on a trip together, and we were sitting on the airport because we both lived fairly close to each other. So we were both flying back around the same time. And I was like, I think we were on the same flight. And I'm like, do you ever think about having kids? So tell us about that little surprise there.
Well, let's just say I didn't think I had enough stress in my life, so I wanted to add a baby in there. And so I ended up having my husband and I both come from a family with multiple siblings. There's 4 of us, there's 5 of him from his side of the family. And when I got hired as a firefighter, we had 2 boys already. And both of us wanted more kids. And so it was kind of like, when I got hired, it was like, nope, like, there's no way. This is like, I am so laser focused. I can't like even think about anything else. I have to get hired, right? Like, this is the priority. And then as I started working, and there is no extra time, there is no, I don't know, like, who's going to watch the baby when I'm at work? Like, all those things, how are we going to homeschool? Are we going to be able to take care of the boys too if I'm gone, plus having a baby? A lot of what ifs. And so we decided not to have any more kids. That was pretty much, I mean, it was I was so busy working and focused, a businesswoman, so it kind of just left our hearts, I guess you could say. Like, we just kind of left it off the table. And then I think at some point we had kind of had a conversation, like, if we're going to do it, like, this is the time. I was 42. And I mean, as you get older, the harder the pregnancies, there's all the risks and complications that could happen. And so we decided to, we actually just talked about it, and then I got pregnant. So I was actually very surprised that it happened so soon. And I was in tears, as if like, I don't know. It, like, emotionally, I think for me, and I'm sure other women are like this too, like that sometimes just a little bit of change will throw you off, just that little bit of like, I don't know what this is going to be like for our family, or like you're starting a new this or new that. And so knowing that I was pregnant, I was obviously going to have this whole pregnancy not working as a firefighter. I was going to be put on light duty, so life was going to change. And then obviously I was going to get a lot bigger. I had just taken off some weight from fire. So it's like all of that stuff started crossing my mind. And so, yeah, I cried for like the first 3 weeks. Maybe it was due to hormones, I'm not sure. But obviously now we have a 2-year-old, and she's the best thing that's ever happened to us. So when we started over, it's a 12-year gap for us with our youngest before her. So we ended up starting over, and they are like the sweetest. They're like little daddies to her, so at some point I was like, she's going to need a sibling because she's so much younger than them. My cousin's like, no, you don't. You do not need another baby. So we're just, we're happy with her. And I think we're going to have to stop after that one. So.
Well, I think that, I mean, what a blessing though it is. I mean, you guys talked about it, and then God like gave you like what you wanted, right?
Yeah.
And especially between 40 and 44, like the odds of getting pregnant or the percentage, it's like only 20 to 25% likely that you're going to get pregnant. And then
Yeah.
as you grow older, like the chances, like once you're 45, it's like less than 1% chance, really.
Yeah.
And so, what a blessing, though. And I love seeing your stories. I love following you guys on social media and seeing all the things that you're doing. And you guys are a pretty busy family. I mean, your sons are into sports, they do baseball, right? And
Yeah.
your husband still works out. You guys still homeschool your children. And so just kind of tell us about like what is life like right now for you?
Well, I have two teenagers. They're 17 and 14. We have homeschooled them since they've never been in public school. And when it came time for high school for my oldest, we did have to figure out what we wanted to do because we do want him to continue with baseball and sports. And you cannot play high school sports as a homeschool kid. And so thankfully, Upland had an option. It's considered independent studies. I believe independent studies kind of started more during COVID when a lot of classes turned online. And so this Upland was one of the few schools that kind of kept that program. And so we were able to register him for high school. He does not go to school, but he is on the baseball team. And so because everything's done at home, basically Monday through Friday is they wake up, they get ready, they go train and do all their baseball stuff. So hitting, skills, drills, all those things. And then from there, they go work out at a CrossFit gym. Um, and then my oldest will just go to baseball practice. He's gone until probably about 6 o'clock at night. Everyone else is home the rest of the day. That's when my other child, my middle, he will do his homeschooling. We'll help him with that if he needs help. A lot of it's done online at his age though, because he's a little bit older. He's 14. So it's usually like a little video, and then they test his skills or give him some stuff to do. So we'll do a little bit of homeschooling, but with the toddler mixed in there, like you can imagine, that's like all day is like she needs your attention. Like if you even try to talk to someone, it's like she literally puts her head on my face. So I can't like look at him. I can't see him. I can't talk. Or like if I have my phone, she's, which is understandable. She's 2. But so most of the day is just taking care of her and then juggling, doing that homeschool and stuff. But yeah, so right now I'm home on injury from work. And so I haven't been working since August. And so for me, I've been home, and it took me like a good month or 2 months to kind of like adjust like my mind to realize like I'm like a stay-at-home mom right now. Like I need to stop thinking of work, stop stressing, it's like just settle in. You're just going to be here for a little bit while you heal, And so I am kind of like a stay-at-home mom right now, which is something that I've always wanted to do. I mean, I used to do it, and I would love to do this more. So yeah, it's been a blessing, and in a way, being able to be home and be with her full time. So
And can you tell me a little bit about like how this has affected now that you're home and just even having the pregnancy, like with, in your 40s, how has that affected your health?
well, I had my baby, and I did okay with my health. I was taking some really good supplements, but I don't know, pregnancy and me, like I get very swollen, very inflamed. Like almost to the point where it's like it's hard to like pronounce some words because your lips get so swollen. And I had a C-section. I had C-sections with my boys too, so that was like I knew I was going to have that. And after I had her, I had to go back to work at 10 weeks, and I was trying to nurse her. That's what I did with the boys. I nursed them 1.5 years at least. But I also was home all the time, right? So at 10 weeks, going back to the firehouse, trying to pump enough milk for her while I'm gone, sometimes gone for 4 days. That was a challenge. Sometimes my husband would have to drive down to the firehouse just to get milk because he would like be running out or something. And I noticed, I don't know if it was my age or because I wasn't actually nursing her, I was more pumping. I eventually started to dry up. So we had to switch to formula. But yeah, I mean, when you're like working as much as I was working, especially after having a baby, you kind of like I don't know, it's like you're in a middle place. You're like, you want to be there for your baby because that's like your maternal instincts and stuff. But part of you has to let that go because you have a career and you have to work. So I actually, when I went back to work, I gained 15 pounds after I had the baby. So just, again, extra, all that stress, the change, being at work, nursing, trying to, juggle the baby work. And so I had put on about 15 pounds. So I was the biggest I've ever been. And then thankfully I did this challenge with one of my captains. It was like a 75 hard, and I was able to take off 30 pounds. So start feeling great, all that stuff. I feel like I got things under control. And then when I went off work for injury is when my weight went back up. So I ended up I gained every single pound back that I had just lost with the baby. So on top of that, it's defeating, it's depressing. And I was inflamed, not feeling well, low energy, sugar cravings, not sleeping well, moody, stress, just all the things. But I also I have a little postpartum in there. She's 2 years old, but I also think that perimenopause could be kicking in. Because I had just gotten a blood test, like something has to be wrong. So like, take my blood, tell me what's wrong. And of course, everything's normal other than my cholesterol, but we already know that. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, obviously I'm not okay. Like how did I get here? Here I am, like, 7 years earlier competing at the CrossFit Games with a 6-pack. I was doing like 25 strict pull-ups in my academies, and then here I am later having this baby, and I can't I can't do what I used to do. I can't work out. I can't eat healthy. Like nothing's helping me take that weight off. So that's kind of when like I started seeing another turn in my health was when I knew I was going to be home for work.
I can totally relate to that. When I had my daughter, my firstborn, I wasn't working such a demanding job. I don't think it didn't take a lot out of me, and so it was easy to balance nursing him and all the things. But when I had my daughter, I had gotten a promotion right after her, and so I struggled with trying to keep her the milk supply, and I worked 10 to 12 hours away from the home. At that time, I was commuting down to Rancho Cucamonga.
Yeah.
And so it was like the Cajon Pass, everything. It was a mess all the time.
Yeah.
And that was really hard. And she would only nurse. She would not take a bottle. She would only nurse if she was attached. And so it was really hard. And I understand, like my husband would have to, like I'm sleeping at night and attach her and detach and all the things. And it was like a blur, so to speak, because you're trying to, raise your family. And at that time, right before I had her, my husband's company that he had been working at had just changed management, changed ownership. And so he lost his job because he was an assistant manager. So he had lost his job. And it was all in a blessing in a way, though, because he was able to stay home. But then at the same time, you, like me being the sole provider, had to like work harder just to make sure that we had just bought in a home. It was all these things. And so I can totally understand like how it kind of feels like, it's just hard. It's a hard thing. And, the weight gain comes on because you're dealing with, a bit of depression. You're not home with your child like you want to be. And it's a struggle. And as you're working through, the stress of a job is hard. Your cortisol, the levels are a lot different than they are, for men. And it's just our bodies are different. And that's how God made us. But as we get older, like in, our 40s, the perimenopause, like I had surgery induced menopause through surgery. So I got 42 years old thrown into menopause, and it's hard. The struggle to lose weight, especially when you're stressed out or all of the other things. You can do all the diets, and for me, it's a struggle. And I would like to say, like, I know that you have been losing some weight now, and you have found something that works for you. Can you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, let's just say it wasn't an easy decision for me because of how holistic and healthy I have been throughout my life. Like I've always believed like you need to exercise and eat right. Like that's the answer, right? At some point during that journey, I didn't even really need supplements other than like a probiotic and fish oil. Like that's really all I would take. And so like when I decided to say yes, I was pretty desperate in my health. Like I just gained another 30 pounds. I don't know. If you look at my social media, you'd be able to see the difference in my face just 5 weeks ago. But I had done a lot of research because I had always said, like, heck no, I would never put that in my body, because what about the long-term effects, or what about all the things you hear on the news? But I follow this mom who is like extremely crunchy. She doesn't even wear deodorant crunchy. And I have never reached that level of crunchy before. That's a whole new level. And she was talking about how she did some research and how it is part of a healthy lifestyle and how she's been using it, and shared her, her success. And so obviously my wheels start turning, like, wonder if I could have that success. Because I've tried the carnivore, and it's not like, I tried it for 6 months and I only took off 10 pounds. That was it. Like, nothing else budged, right? And before, in my 30s, like, that would have just been like, oh, sweet, I'm doing really good, right? I've done, like, I was doing intermittent fasting, and sometimes fasting 22 hours a day still, to see the scale budge was like pretty, like, magical if that happened. And then you can imagine too, I'm pretty inactive right now because I'm on injury. So I kind of was fed up with trying to do the same things I've always done, because I always ended up in the same spot. And I decided to enter the world of peptides. I've been on tirzepatide for, let's see, I just finished week 5. So today you take it 1 time a week. I took my 6th dose today and I'm down 15 pounds. And some of the biggest things I've noticed is my inflammation's gone. And, like, I used to not have, like, a jawline. I don't know if you can see a jawline, but
I can see a jawline.
Just 5 weeks ago, I was literally sitting on my couch, inflamed, exhausted, sugar cravings, just like no hope. Like, I guess this is just my life. Hopefully I can muster up enough motivation to do something soon, because I'm the heaviest I've ever been. Right. And it's embarrassing because I did used to be a CrossFit athlete and I am a firefighter. It's like, it's embarrassing, but some of it also seems a little bit out of your control. When you feel like that. And that was just 5 weeks ago. And, like, my health has completely turned. Like, from the first day I took it at like a 2:00 on a Wednesday. Thursday morning was when I woke up, like, wide-eyed with, like, this. My husband's like, you're like hyper energy. I was like, I know, I don't know what to do with all this energy. I was like, I feel so good. I was like, I would wake up at like 5 in the morning, like, Jeremy, I don't know what to do. Should I go clean the garage? Should I work out? Like, what do I do? It's like, I feel so good. So I've slowly been taking off weight. I noticed the inflammation in my face. I don't have a ring on right now because my little silicone ring broke, but that is, my ring fingers are always very swollen. Sometimes even after a long day of work, I would take off my boots and my socks and I could feel my ankles almost sometimes like jiggle because they were so full of inflammation and fluid. And so not having inflammation is huge for me. My brain fog is cleared up. So I was pretty bad, like forgetting why I walked into rooms, like mid conversations, not being able to find words. I forgot my nephew's name. Just regularly, just this brain fog, right? Just like exhausted in my brain. But that's cleared up. Like the things that I remember, I'm like, how did I just remember that? Like, anyway, so a lot of hope for not going, having dementia in my future. And then also one of the biggest ones for me is food noise. Like food noise for me is different than sugar cravings. Sugar cravings is like you kind of find yourself over by the cookies and sweets and stuff regularly because your body's kind of craving it and you need to satisfy that, right? And but food noise is something like that I've lived with my whole life. It's kind of like you're constantly thinking like, well, I ate too much bread this time, so I'll have a salad next meal. Or, what, tomorrow I'm gonna fast because I ate too much during today and I don't feel very well, so I'm just gonna fast for half the day. Or it's like I'm not gonna eat bread next meal, but I'll have it, maybe just a little bit, because it's like you're constantly thinking of food when your next meal is, what you're gonna do, or maybe I won't eat, maybe I will eat. It's like you feel guilty for eating. It's like always there. And that's something that cleared up right away. Like the food noise it's just a blessing not having that there. Like I never realized to what extent I had it until it was gone. So you can imagine not having the food noise, the sugar cravings, your body's not inflamed anymore, how that really sets you up for losing weight. And it's not magic. You do have to eat healthy, But what it's doing is, like I had explained, I was doing all the things carnivore, I was doing intermittent fasting, I've done juicing, I could list off all the biohacking I've done with coffee enemas, castor oil packs, parasites cleansing, all the things, just like searching for like, maybe my body just needs this, right? But being able to just have the inflammation gone, the food noise gone. Now I'm doing the healthy eating, but I'm getting a result on the scale.
Mhm.
So I'm not taking this time to just like, oh, I'm just going to eat whatever because I'm going to lose weight. Like, that's not what this is. It just gives you those tools to be able to turn your efforts into to results. So I'm very glad that I said yes to this missing piece, because sometimes I feel like super crunchy moms like me kind of know too much for their own good. And they kind of live off fear of like, what if this or what if that, when it's actually something that's really good for us. I had done my own research. I listened to a podcast of some holistic doctors and integrative practitioners, and that's kind of like when I gave myself the green light to go, because listening to them, they've been doing this stuff for years, helping their patients, and now they're introducing something like a peptide, and how much their patients' health is changing. That's when I decided, like, if they're doing it in their practices, like, I would go to a integrative practitioner for my health. I don't want to go to a doctor. I don't want to be put on medication. But if I could go to an integrative practitioner and she's going to prescribe me this, like, why wouldn't I? So
Right.
I'm really glad I said yes. I'm just finished 5 weeks, like I said, and 15 pounds. Like, what? For women our age, I don't know.
No, I think that's amazing. And from my understanding, that the way that peptides work is they're amino acids, right? And they help us. We all have peptides in our bodies. Our body produces them, but as we age, our production stops, right? And we start producing them. And that is why it's so important that it helps us with our recovery, metabolism, skin, and your energy changes. And you're just like living proof of that. And especially as women, one of the things I'm curious about, and I've heard, and you can tell me if it's helped you or not, but it helps with our cortisol and our stress levels. And so, with you being home from on injury and all these things that you're dealing with, has your stress levels gone down? You're not as stressed anymore since you've started taking the peptides?
I feel like I can handle the stress, because there's still stress in my life. Like,
Right.
like an example I could share is, just at the end of the day, you're so tired as a mom, right? And it's like, okay, it's time for bath time. I have to bathe my toddler, get her ready for bed. But of course, she doesn't want to take a bath, or she doesn't want to get in her jammies. Like, that stress would be just like I could just see my face of what it would do. Just that, like, pure exhaustion. Just like, I'm so over this. Like, I just need a break. That's what it feels like. And now it's like, with the peptides, I feel like I'm just okay. Like, I'm dealing with the stress. If you don't want to put on your stuff, I'm going to go do something else. Let me know when you're ready. It just feels like my body is just dealing with that stress so well. And something else that has changed, and I don't even know if this is a symptom, a side effect. But for me, I've done a lot less doom scrolling, and a lot less. I used to play this video game. It's called Blockbuster. And I never really played it. My son's like, oh, you should play. So of course I downloaded it with him. And then when I was stressed, that was like a very easy place to go to, like, escape from reality and to not think of all the stress and all I'm gaining weight. I don't feel good. Like, all these things, right? You get glued to the phone. Um, and I have not been on my phone much. And I actually haven't opened that game for weeks. It's like, it's unreal. But in that podcast I listened to, the doctor does talk about how these peptides are satisfying our dopamine receptors. So, and I can absolutely see where that is. It's like, I'm not controlled by that anymore, where before it was like this dopamine rush made me feel good, helped me relax. Now it's like, it's just not needed. So that's like a very unlikely thing I thought I would ever experience.
No, I love that. I love that. I can find it. When I was healing, I had surgery almost a year ago. Well, it's not been a year yet, but about 7 months ago.
Yeah.
And when I was trying to, you're stuck. You can't lift anything heavier than a gallon of milk, and so you're like stuck. You're like, can't do much. You're not supposed to walk because you're repairing tissue and all these other things. Tissues were realigned, and I would, the only thing I could escape to stop my stress, I could read a book, but then it would get me emotional or whatever. So the only thing I could do was play Candy Crush. And I'm like playing it forever, passing and it was not doing me any good. And so I had to go, when I went back to work, I was like, okay, I can only handle this so much. Luckily for me, I was able to work from home so I could go back to work fairly quickly, but it was still hard, just the feeling that you're so frustrated with your own body that you need something to escape from. And whether it's, just mindless scrolling, playing a video game or things like that, it's because your body's so overwhelmed, you don't know what to do. And so I'm really interested, and I love watching your journey on how I've known you for quite some time, and I've seen how you've been struggling, up and down and everything like that with
Yeah.
the gain and all that stuff. And you were very fit, and then it's like, okay, I have to go through all of this, and to find a solution, I think is really amazing. And so I'm super excited for you. And if people wanted to connect with you, what is a good way to connect with you?
I'm on Instagram a lot and Facebook, and I would get any message in there. Yeah, that's probably the best way to connect with me. And I'm pretty social on social media, so I like to connect and meet new friends and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll definitely make sure that we share your links in the show notes. But as we wrap up, there's always one thing I love to ask my guests to do is, what is something, a word, a phrase, or some type of action, something that they can do today in order to help them refine and shine?
So this was kind of last minute for me, thinking about something like this. But what I do, I'm just going to be totally honest, as a homeschooling mom who wants the best for my family and for myself, I always just end up in prayer. But you have to be ready to not pass up opportunities, because when doors open, I don't even wait to be like, is this the right door to walk through, or is it closed? Could you give me a hint? I just walk through the door, and God's going to bless that, right? And if it's wrong, and things will change later on. But it's like, I hear so many women just pass up opportunity or say no or have some kind of excuse, and it's like, but why? It's like, you're praying for this and you want this for your life. Like, why would you say no to an opportunity? So I don't know. That's where I am. I'm a yes for opportunity, and that's how I ended up, helping myself with my health too. Because it's like, I could do two things. I could sit on the couch and still be miserable like I was 5 weeks ago, and hoping, an opportunity comes, or hoping someone's doing something that I can find a good routine in my life. But it's like, but you could do that, or you could, say yes to opportunities. So that's what I do. I'm a yes girl for opportunities, and I figure stuff out as I go. So
I think that that's so important, and it's so important when we pray for things. God will give us the answer, but we have to take the action. He's not going to force our hand to something, but he's going to give you opportunities. And so it's up to us to make that decision to actually take the action. And so I love that, because opportunities are all around us, and it's up to us to just take the next step.
Yeah. And I feel like we overthink it too. And that's a woman thing too. It's like you pray for a car and you're like, well, is it this one you want me to have, that one, or this one? And it's like, it doesn't matter. You need to choose a car, and God will bless it. So it's not always like you're waiting and waiting and waiting, instead of just making that decision and going with it, because God's going to bless the decision that you make. Even if you don't think it's the absolute most perfect, decision for you, and you haven't had that confirmation, or you're waiting for God to speak to you somewhere on a quiet night. It's like, just go for it and say yes, and do the things. So
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much. I certainly appreciate you for being on the show today.
Absolutely. I'm glad to finally make this with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Refine and Shine. We hope you find valuable insights and inspiration to fill your journey of continuous improvement. Remember, the key to success lies in refining your processes and letting your inner brilliance shine. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your feedback is greatly appreciated and helps us reach more listeners like you who are eager to refine and shine in all areas of life. Stay connected with us on social media for updates and additional resources and behind-the-scenes content. We love hearing from our listeners, so feel free to reach out with any suggestions, questions, or success stories you'd like to share.
As we wrap up, remember that the power to transform your life lies within you. Keep striving for growth, embracing change, and seeking opportunities to refine your skills. Together, let's continue to shine bright and make a positive impact in the world. Until next time, keep refining and keep shining.